In this chapter we're going to actually build an HTML5 game. We're going to build a snake game which you may have played before if you had a cell phone back maybe 12 years ago or so, before the whole app thing. You may have had a couple games on your phone, and Snake was one of the most popular. So let's take a look at it. Alright, so basically you have this string of rectangles built on a canvas. This whole black area is a canvas, just like the ones that we created in the last section's videos. And you want to try to get the snake to eat the food, alright, which is just another square. So when you grab a square, what it actually does is it adds it on to the tail, making the snake longer. And of course, the longer it gets, the hotter the game is. Alright, and you can see at the bottom we have a couple boxes. We have a score, your score, which is the current game score, which is 5 right now. I'm not that great at this, and you also see a high score, which is 0 right now because nobody has gotten the high score. Alright, so let's see, that's 6, and if I crash into a wall, we get this overlay which tells us our final score and also a link to play again. And you can see down here that the high score has changed to 6. Alright, so if we want to reload and play again, or just click that play button, another game will start, and you can see that the high score is still there, so you can try to beat your high score. And if you want, you can also reset the high score. So now I go back to 0. Alright, and you keep playing. So pretty simple. Pretty simple game, but it will give you a lot of knowledge on the canvas element for HTML5. The JavaScript may be a little tough, especially when there's arithmetic and math involved. I'm not a very good mathematician, and I mean, this, although it plays nicely, isn't a production application. This isn't something that you would want to sell or anything like that, and there may be some little bugs here and there, so I'm not saying this is a production app that you should build and sell and offer as a product. It's just an example of how to use HTML5 canvas element, local storage, and a couple other things as well. So let's take a quick look at the structure of the app. Alright, it's very minimal. We have a background image, an index HTML file, a script.js file, and a style.css file. Alright, so that's it. 4 files. It is a single page application. So what I want to do is I'm going to rename this to snake_finished, and then we will create a new folder called snake. Alright, and what I'm going to do is just grab that background image. So that's the big image of the snake that displays in the back. And then for the other files, we'll just create new ones. Alright, so we want our index file, which is our main entry point. And we want our JavaScript file. And let's see, we want our CSS file. So style.css. Alright, so let's go ahead and open up the index file with whatever code editor you want to use. And I'm going to just paste in our shell for our HTML5 document. Alright, now what we want to do is, we're not going to do inline CSS or JavaScript. We're going to link to our other documents. So let's link to the CSS file first. So in the head we want to say link rel, and that's going to be style sheet. Type is going to be text/CSS, and Actually, we want to put our link here, and that's going to go just to style.css. I didn't make a CSS folder. You can if you want, but I didn't. And then in the bottom here, at the bottom, right before the ending body tag, we'll include our JavaScript. First, I want to link to Jquery. Okay, we're just going to use the Google CDN. Let me just grab it real quick. Alright, paste that in there, and then our main JS file. Which is called script.js. Alright, so we have our files connected. Now what we want to do is let's create a container in the body, because we want it to align to the middle. And this HTML document is going to be very small. Most of the work is in the JavaScript. Alright, so if we look at the game, this, where it says your final score and click to play again, this is going to be a div that we're going to initially hide with CSS. And then when the game ends, when you run into a wall, then we're going to have it display through Jquery. Alright, so let's create this div in this content. Alright, so in the container, I'm going to call this, I'm going to give it an ID of overlay. Alright, so that represents the entire little block, which will say your final score. Alright, and then the score is actually going to come through JavaScript. It's going to be generated. So what I'm going to do is put a span tag here, and that will be the placeholder for the score. And we'll give it an ID of final score. Alright, close the span, nothing goes in between, and then let's do a line break. Actually, let's go to a new line, do a line break, and then we want that click to play again. So what we're going to do is create a click handler. I'm going to say on click. It's going to it's just going to reload, which will bring up the initialize function, which will allow you to play the game. Alright, so we can reload the page with window dot location dot reload. Alright, parentheses, and we're just going to set the link here just to go to nothing. Alright, and the link will just say click to play again. Okay, so that is our overlay div. Alright, so under that is where we're going to put our canvas element. So just like in the past couple videos where we use canvas, we're going to give it an ID. We're just going to give it an ID of canvas, and we're going to set a width of 600 pixels. Whoop, this should be an equals, and this will be 600, and height will be 400. Alright, so that's our canvas element. Again, if you want to put in here for people that are using browsers that don't allow canvas, we'll just give them a little message. Okay. And then under the canvas is where we want to put our stats. Alright, so our score, high score, and reset button. Okay, so let's create another div here and give it an ID of stats. Alright, we'll close that. And then in here we'll do another div and give it an ID of score. Alright, so these divs, they're not going to have any content in the HTML. It's going to be generated through the JavaScript file into this div. Alright, and then the next one is going to be div ID, and this is going to be high score. Alright, and then we'll have our button. So we'll say button on click is it's gonna call a function, a JavaScript function called reset score. Alright, and we'll give this an ID of reset score, and that should be good. As for the button text, we can put that here. Okay, and we got a couple divs here. Let me just make sure everything's good. Container, overlay, stats. Let's see. Oh, here we're missing a double quote right there. Alright, so the markup looks good. That's actually all the HTML that we need for this. Let's save it and look at it. It'll probably look horrible. Alright, so basically nothing. We have our overlay here, which isn't hidden. The canvas is there. You can see the height of it, but we have no background or border. And then we have just the reset high score button. And if you remember the high score and the score div, they don't have anything in them. It's going to be generated through JavaScript. Alright, so that's it for the markup. So I'm going to stop here, and then in the next video we'll add the CSS and we'll get this looking a little better.